Welcome back to the Traders Network. I'm Michael Yorba, your host. Thanks for joining us. We're also streaming to you live on yorbamedia.com and broadcasting to you from the Dallas KFXR 1190 AM Clear Channel Studios. All right, for the next two segments, my first guest is Rose Crane, CEO, MELA Sciences, symbol MELA. Welcome to the show. Thanks for showing up, Rose.
Hey, Michael. Nice to hear your voice.
All right. Yeah, likewise. Okay. Tell me about your company, but first, tell me about yourself a little bit. Give our audience a flavor for who you are, what you bring to MELA Sciences, and then I definitely want to dive right into the product and talk all about that.
Perfect. So I have been in the healthcare field for 32 years, and of course I started when I was 18. But okay. I've spent 20 years at Bristol-Myers Squibb with a pharmaceutical company there, left managing about $6.5 billion worth of business in what would be products that a lot of people know, Plavix, Abilify. Went on to Johnson & Johnson and then ran the the McNeil company, Again, products that people know. Tylenol, Splenda, Motrin. Ran the Worldwide company, and then went on to a company called Epocrates. It's a healthcare technology company. It actually is it's on the iPhone, and physicians use it in place of the PDR, and I brought that company public. Then went on to play in the venture capital field for a little while, and here I am at MELA Sciences, hoping to bring technology to the dermatologists that will help the population with managing melanoma.
Okay, all right. Let's start off with the products. That'll give us an idea what MELA Sciences does, and then I've got a whole litany of questions for you.
Perfect, Michael. So MELA Sciences has a product called MELAFind. It is an optical imaging product, and it has two pieces to it. It has hardware and software. So it is approved by the FDA. It's approved with the largest database ever on lesions, melanoma and otherwise. And so what happens, I'm going to make it real simple. So if you happen to be a high-risk patient with melanoma, and that would be you have melanoma in your family, you've had a previous melanoma, you're light-skinned, blue-eyed, and you go into your dermatologist with a lesion that you are concerned about, or your dermatologist sees a lesion he or she is concerned about. This device, and it's the only optical imaging device, actually of any kind for dermatologists, they would basically scan your lesion with the optical imager. That imager, the image that comes out of there, would go into a database of ours. Now we have 10,000 lesions in the database, and they were part of how we got approved. Mm-hmm. And so the image goes into the database with its data. It reads it, and it comes back and says, basically, it gives a classifier score, which is a score, which then tells the doctor if there is a high likelihood of disorganization, meaning it could be a melanoma, or a low likelihood, which means it's probably not. So as you're sitting there with the doctor, and it only takes 40 seconds to get this information out of the machine, mm-hmm. The doctor can then say to you, okay, I'm a little nervous about this. It looks like I probably should go ahead and do a biopsy because it's reading a bit high. Or it's reading not too high, and I'd like you back in 3 months and we'll manage it. So that's as simple as it is.
Wow. That's great technology. Talk to me about the market.
Yeah, so the market is interesting. So, the statistics on melanoma are scary. They really are. So it's a small portion of patients, but it's a very lethal disease, right? One mm-hmm. person dies every hour. Mm-hmm. 15 people are diagnosed every hour. 75% of the skin cancer deaths are melanoma. Melanoma is kind of when it occurs fast. So let me give you a couple of statistics, and they're pretty simple if you think about it. If the melanoma is caught, melanoma cannot be cured. There is no cure for melanoma. It mutates, meaning the cancer cells just grow and grow and grow, and they get smarter and smarter. So basically, If the melanoma is found on the skin, it's considered skin level, it's considered stage 0. If it's found there, your chances of survival are 99%. If it goes to 4 millimeters below the skin, your chances of survival drop down to near 50%. Now, MELA find through the optical imaging can go 2.5 millimeters below the skin. So as opposed to the physician just using their eyes and their knowledge, which is fabulous, it allows them to go below the skin and understand what's going on down there. Because as it travels and it goes deeper, your chances of survival are cut in half.
Let me jump in there for a second. Below, you said 2.5 millimeters?
2.5 millimeters, we can go with the optical imaging below the skin.
Below that, what stage would it be considered?
Well, it really depends. They stage it, but the statistics against, so the top of the skin is considered stage 0.
Right.
When it's at stage 4, which you're down there at, it's then metastasized into the lymph nodes. Then it's a very deadly disease. But when you're at 4 millimeters below the skin,
right,
the statistics would tell you your survival rate is 50% and maybe less.
Okay, all right. That's what I was trying to get from where. At what level does it turn from stage 2 to 4?
Yeah, it depends. Really, it depends on how quickly it's traveling. It depends on, how long it's been there. It depends on the health of the patient. It depends on, are they on immunosuppressants? Can they fight this off? There's so many different variables.
All right, tell me about the results of MELA find.
I'm sorry, Michael, say it again.
Tell me about the results that the physicians have experienced by using.
So it's actually very interesting. Here's what happens. This is not used when a physician looks at it and says it's melanoma, because they immediately biopsy it or excise it.
Right.
It's not used when they can see that it's benign. What it's used on is what's called an ambiguous lesion. They're not really sure. So what's happened with the physicians who are using it is they find, and we have studies that show this, basically their batting average improves, so they're better able, they don't miss melanomas, and they don't necessarily biopsy benign tissue. So they become better at what they do. And it's funny, and one of the top physicians in the country, he jokes and he says, my patients, I've been following them for years. They're high-risk patients, and now I'm using MELA, and they trust MELA more than they trust me. And this is the top guy in the country, because it's an analysis. It's objective. It provides a score. They can follow the score, and it gives the physician a conversation to have with the patient.
And it gives them something else to do. It gives them something to lean on, the technology that you provide. And one of the things I would, because the waiting and the waiting,
yes,
and the waiting,
yes,
that's really
and I'm going to interject a personal story here, and I
Please.
apologize, but unfortunately for me, my husband passed away of squamous skin cell cancer. He was a transplant patient,
mm-hmm.
and there were times where we waited 8-9 days for a pathology report. And I always thought, well, no news is good news. That's not the case.
No.
Typically, that means this is difficult. They send it from pathologist to get a better read. And the longer it took, the worse it came back. And that anxiety on both the patient and the family is incredible.
Believe me, I know all about it. I just had my wife pass away from colorectal cancer, and so I feel for you. Is what I'm trying to say.
Same here. It's when you live in it, though, you understand it, and you understand what just a little bit of technology can do to help, right?
Oh, yes. You really hit home with me. Let's do this. Robin, let's take a little break right now. And on the other side of the segment, the commercial break, let's talk about your future, the patients, and the problems that are out there and how you're turning them from problems to solutions and opportunities, okay?
Perfect.
All right, we'll be right back on the other side of this break with Rose Crane, CEO, MELA Sciences, symbol MELA. And I want to give a special thank you and shout out to Monk Media and 1-800-PublicRelations.com for all their media and PR support. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Traders Network. I'm Michael Yorba, your host. Thanks for joining us. We're also streaming to you live on yorbamedia.com and broadcasting to you from the Dallas KFXR 1190 AM Clear Channel Studios. I have Rose Crane, CEO, MELA Sciences, on the show with me today. All right, Rose, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Michael.
My pleasure. Okay. Let's talk about the future, what's going on with the patients, and then obviously the solution to the big problems, which you've turned into an opportunity.
Great. So, interestingly enough, optical imaging is still what I'd call new, nascent technology. We've come a long way with ultrasound. If you remember way back when that first came out, and now what's going on with ultrasound. Right. Optical imaging is about there. It's very new. The projections are that this market, optical imaging market, is estimated to be worth $2 billion by 2018. It's still in very, very early phases of development. We are the first with the dermatologists. In fact, dermatologists have no other form of imaging. They use their eyes and they use their knowledge. And so bringing optical imaging to the dermatologist twofold is new, right? It's new optical imaging, and it's new for them.
Are they embracing it? I mean, there are some people that don't. You know what I mean?
The early adopters, the younger ones who love technology, really get it.
Yes.
The ones who have been, and you can imagine, right? They've got history. They've got great statistics against how much melanoma they found. It's hard for them to adopt this new technology, right? They were never trained on it. So we've got a lot of work to do to really penetrate this market. It's new. When you're the first in a market, you can name them, right? First in, it's always the most difficult. A lot of market development. But as we get more and more data and more physicians use it, and we're still, again, very, very early stages, we're finding out more about the technology.
I commend you on that. I mean, really, of the highest quality, because if you can come up with technology that takes a survival rate to 99% by early detection, and then you can use preventative medicine for some of the stuff that just turns into a real ugly scene later on, I really highly commend you for the breakthrough on this. And
you just captured it. That is the essence of what we're trying to do.
I want to thank you for coming onto my show with that news. Now let's move forward. Talk to me about the patients. I mean, how are they reacting? And please bring that out.
Well, so the patients that really benefit from this, again, are the high-risk patients, the ones whose family have had a history of melanoma, who they themselves have had a melanoma. Those with, and you see them, you know them. I'm sure you have friends that are covered in moles, 50 or greater moles.
Right.
Those folks are in the dermatologist's office once, twice, 3 times a year sometimes, these high-risk patients. And, they have to have every mole checked. They have to see what changed, what didn't change. So many of the patients that are high risk know it. Those that have it in their family have it or have moles. Here's the other thing that's happening that's really, I think, quite scary. So the UVB, UVA rays from sunning and tanning beds.
Right.
The age of melanoma is going down, meaning younger and younger patients are being diagnosed with melanoma. As soon as you put yourself in a tanning bed, you've put yourself in a high-risk position.
Without a doubt. I want to throw one other thing out, a personal story about this. There are people out there that have, and I didn't know this until I met my wife, white coat syndrome. I'm afraid, don't cut on me, don't stick me with anything. And I'm looking at your piece of equipment on your website. It doesn't look like you get stuck with anything. It looks like a little scanner like you'd see at the grocery store to me.
It's exactly, it was designed to be not threatening to patients. That's exactly right. I mean, that's the wonderful thing about optical imaging. It's non-invasive, it's safe, and the patient actually accepts it better than the doctor many times. I've had friends who are at high risk, have had melanoma, and said to me, why doesn't my doctor have it? I mean, I want to know. I want the numbers, But that, too, is part of really developing this, really getting in and getting physicians to use it. It's the patients that really, really are involved know that they need to understand what's going on.
Yeah, but everything you said, yes. But getting back to my point, this is a cure for white coat syndrome. If you can get them in the office and just scan it, they're like, see, that didn't even hurt.
Yeah, no, great point. No, that's exactly right.
You'll get a lot more doctors doing this when the patients go, oh, just like the grocery store. Okay.
Yeah, no, great point. And we are really focused on getting the message out to the high-risk patients, as best as we can.
Now, we have plenty of time in the rest of the segment, so we don't have to rush on anything. But the problem and the opportunity, let's bring that out.
So, the problem is just what you said. This is the only cure for melanoma is catching it early. There is nothing else that can be done. And the statistics they're just startling. Here's a very startling statistic. Melanoma is the fastest growing cancer.
Because of these tanning booths
and is the largest cancer death in women between 25 and 30.
Okay, that's a startling fact.
All right. So early detection results in 99% survival.
Mm-hmm.
So this is it, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the problem and the opportunity. But with all problems and opportunities, how do you really get out there and make sure that the opportunity is in front of those with the problems? So we're very focused on making sure that the top physicians who treat skin cancer, and it's not a ton at the top, really know this technology, are comfortable with it. And we're making some pretty great strides so that they really will bring it to the patients and the physicians who treat high-risk patients.
Tell me about how you're getting the message out. And then I want to know about your business, too, because you're publicly traded. Yep. You're on the NASDAQ symbol. Yep. Hold on, MELA. Mm-hmm. I've got it. And I don't know if you know much about me, but I'm what's known as a market technician. I take mathematical formulas, abstract mathematical formulas, and forecast the next move in the market. So price pattern of a stock is very familiar to me. Mm-hmm. And where your stock is right now, technically speaking, it's a double bottom. What you're telling me about your technology and the marketplace being first in a marketplace to take a survival rate to 99% when you have early detection, which really it's what it's all about, tells me that there is a tremendous opportunity for a huge move in your business. So talk to me about your business a little bit. We've got like 3 minutes or so left in the segment. Right. I want to give you room to do that.
Yeah, so the thing is, this has been approved for 2 years, and I just came in November to take over the business, and so we're in a turnaround. It was positioned to cosmetic dermatologists first. The word was, if you have skin, you're at risk for melanoma. So it needed a clear repositioning. It really did it. And so the way we're approaching it is we're focusing on the key institutions where the top guys are. Mm-hmm. Since this past November, we've been at all the major meetings with abstracts and posters and new data. So the more we can present data, the more comfortable the physicians get. We're approaching it from the physicians, not the consumers, because the physicians are the ones that have to purchase this. The other part of our business is when we first launched, we would rent the unit to physicians, and they would pay a per-click fee. We've now gone with a model that dermatologists are comfortable with. They buy the equipment and they depreciate it.
Right.
So what's that do for my P&L? If you look at the financials, we have hardly made any revenue on this because we haven't penetrated the market. It was a rental revenue. Mm-hmm. That means that I could, if a unit was rented, I was able to recognize 1/24 of that revenue over 2 years. Now when the unit's sold, and we've just approved this internally and are moving externally with the physicians. As soon as it's sold, I can recognize 95% of the revenue immediately. So as I've said to a lot of the analysts, we have some tailwinds. We really do. The tough thing is we've been here for 2 years and haven't made much progress as it relates to revenue because of all the positioning and the issues. The good news is we have these tailwinds. So we have, if you looked at my financials, I have $10 million worth of units sitting there waiting to be sold. They're already paid for. We just raised $12.5 million in cash. So we have room to move. We can now do all of our studies. We can keep pushing on the doctors. And the biggest thing we've yet to do is we have to get reimbursement for this, because right now the patient has to pay out of pocket. That holds a lot up.
You are going to come back for a redo. We're running super short on time. But before we go, you've got a March 17th conference call for everybody. Is that right?
We do. It's our fourth quarter call.
Give me an address so that our people can tune in.
Yeah, an address so everybody can tune in.
Is it melasciences.com?
Yeah, it's www.melasciences.com.
All right. I want you to come back, and I want to help you get this out. We'll talk after the show.
Great, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. All right, that was Rose Crane, CEO, MELA Sciences. Anything that's going to help bring the survival rate of cancer to 99%, I'm going to get behind. And I want to put a special thank you out to Monk Media and 1-800-PublicRelations.com for all their media and PR support. All right, we'll be right back with none other than Matt Bird, CEO of Monk Media. We've got a lot of new stuff Matt and I are going to talk about with you. We'll be right back.